The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And my website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Now, if you'd like to listen to us 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year, you can do so at www.xzbn.net/live.htm. That's www.xzbn.net/live.htm. And also, don't forget, this is the month of May. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. And yesterday we had Dr. Clancy McKenzie on. And he's a great guy. It was a super show, I should say, about Mental Health Month. And, he brought up a number of great, how should I say this, great, unique hypotheses. So that's, so once again, if you'd like to listen to Dr. Clancy, go to xzonepodcast.com. And finally, before I get to my guests this hour, May 25th to the 27th, I'm going to be the Master of Ceremonies at the Body, Soul, Spirit Expo being held at the International Center, 6900 Airport Road in Mississauga. And if you'd like more information on the Body, Soul, Spirit Expo, just go to their website, www.bodysoulspiritexpo.com. And for everyone, we will be giving away complimentary editions of the X Chronicles newspaper on DVD that you can take home with you. We are a paper-friendly company here. And all you have to do is say, hey, Rob, I'd like to get my DVD. It's that simple. And on that DVD are going to be some videos, some of our best interviews, as well as copies of the X Chronicles newspaper. It's that simple. We want you, the members of the X-Zone Nation, to make up your own mind, because what we do is we bring both sides of the story and let you make up your decision onto what is fact, what is truth, what is myth, what is legend, and what is reality. My guest this hour, C.J. Ellisson. Wow, I must tell you, X-Zone Nation, that I received 2 of C.J.'s books, and we're going to be talking to C.J. about her interest in vampires. One of the books she sent me was The Hunt, book number 2, a novel of the vampire, the VV Inn, and she also sent me Vampire Vacation, book 1. C.J. Ellisson is our guest this hour, and C.J., how are you?
I'm good today, Rob. Thanks for having me here. How are you?
I'm doing great, C.J., but I have to ask you this question. Are you a vampire?
No, I am not. So sorry.
Well, you know what? Where did your interest in vampires come from, C.J.?
Wow, I guess if we're going to be honest and go all the way back, I'd have to say it would be Anne Rice. I've been interested in reading about vampires for decades. Interview with a Vampire was the first book I read by her, and then I just found a lot of other books, and Laura K. Hamilton has a terrific series. Charlaine Harris does. All the big names. So I've been reading it for a very long time.
Why do you think so many people in today's society are so interested in vampires?
I think that because of the mythical representation that there are so many different cultures that have vampires or some type of blood drinker within their own historic legends, that people have always been fascinated with it. And now, in today's day and age, you can have your flavor of the month for vampires however you want it served. It can be horror, it can be erotic, it can be fantasy, it can be mysterious, like a detective sleuth situation for the vampire. There's a ton of different ways you can spin it. And I think all the fantastical creatures there are, you see more of it with vampires, more variety than any other one there is. And that's what I really liked about it and what drew me to writing about it.
CJ, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm looking forward to spending the next hour here in the X Zone with you. CJ Ellisson is my special guest, www.cjellison.com. That's CJELLISSON.com. Don't forget that second S, X Zone Nation. That's cjellison.com. And she also has a very, very popular fan book on Facebook, so check her out. We'll be back on the other side with CJ Ellisson as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net. And welcome back to the X Zone. CJ Ellisson is my very special guest this hour. www.cjellison.com. And, CJ's got a very popular fan page on Facebook. Just have to go to Facebook and enter her name, CJ Ellisson. And her books are available at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and other online stores. Once again, for more information on CJ, visit her website at www.cjellison.com. CJ, tell us a little bit about your series and what was the driving force behind it?
As I mentioned before, I've been reading vampires for a really long time, and I've read a lot of the urban fantasy genre, which is kind of a crossover between a fantasy book and a paranormal romance.
Yep.
The main character, it's usually told from a first-person perspective, so it's told with an I instead of a he and she.
Yes.
We're getting a really first-hand look of the story through the narrator's eyes. You're kind of living the story with them as it happens. I enjoy these types of books because you're able to put yourself into the story and live it, just enjoy it page by page as if you were there. He and she, the third person, past tense, which you see a lot of high fantasy books in. That's nice too, but this newer, more contemporary writing style I've really enjoyed, and it's really brought me into it. Now, regarding my story, the Vampire Vacation book is the first book in the series, and it's written from an ancient vampire's perspective. She's a 580-year-old vampire who's married to a human husband, and she's very happy, very monogamous, and running an inn in Alaska, a vacation spot for the undead. So that, obviously it's open only in the winter months, but everyone from all over the globe flies in, jet-setting, rich vampires to vacation and take off their civilized masks and to let loose. Because after all, if they're living among regular people every day, they have to pretend to be regular people. Now they get to come to the Vampire Vacation Inn and really let loose.
Tell me,
it's been a lot of fun to write it.
Do you think vampires are real, or are they strictly in the mind of the believers?
I really don't know. I think my first instinct would be to scoff and to say, no, they're not real. But honestly, I don't think that I'm ever going to be the one to say yes or no on something that I don't know enough about. I can honestly say that there's more things in heaven and earth than I know anything about. There's so many other things out there that you always have to have an open mind and not discriminate what someone's beliefs are until you have more proof and more research done yourself.
One of your reviewers wrote that your book was an erotic paranormal mystery in the Arctic. How do you explain
Yes.
that?
I thought that it was a really great way to phrase it. Erotic paranormal mystery in the Arctic. Well, obviously it's set above the Arctic Circle in Alaska, so that's where we got that from. Erotic, because I'm not shy and I write very detailed, explicit sex scenes throughout the books, so that's where that comes from. Paranormal was the vampire angle, and mystery was I give my couple a problem to solve. I don't want to write a romance book, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy sex in the stories either. So the sex spices things up, but it's not the main plot focus. The mystery brings things along and gives our couple of an adventure, but it's also not the main plot focus.
What makes your series different than all the other vampire books out there, CJ?
Comparatively speaking, with a lot of the urban fantasies that are really popular right now, if the main character is a woman written from her point of view, she's usually bed hopping quite a bit or having relationship problems. Even if the relationship is a subplot in the book, you'll still find that she can save the day, she can journey to foreign lands, she can save her loved ones or anyone who's friends with her, but she can't seem to keep a guy. And at the end of the story, she either fobs the relationship or she's with someone new. And what I really didn't care for was that it completely discounted anyone who was in a happy marriage. People who are in a happy marriage, who work very hard for that, know what a relationship really, the energy that it takes to keep it going. What are they going to get to read? Why can't they read anything about a happy couple that's side by side, just like they are in real life? Sure, we might, hate each other once in a while or want to smother one another in our sleep, but overall, we're with it. We're here for the long haul. And that's what I wanted to read. I wanted to read about a happily married couple, about a couple who was there for each other no matter what. I just made mine, of course, a vampire.
I don't know. I've been doing this show for 20 years or 20-some-odd years, and I've never heard somebody say, well, we may think about smothering our partner to sleep when they're asleep. I love it. What's the premise of your first book, CJ?
The premise is that this husband and wife are a little mystery-solving duo. They are running this vacation spot where the vampires come up for the decadence of the theme rooms and kind of let themselves hang out and have a real nice sexual exploitation of a good time, party all night long. And the premise is that they are trying to solve this murder. So a guest is, or actually they don't know who it is right away. Someone is killed. They want to find out if the person is a guest, an employee, how they got there, who killed them and why, without alerting their guests. So it's this madcap adventure of them bumbling through trying to figure out who the killer is without alerting everybody.
Why Alaska?
I often wondered why there wasn't more vampire books set in Alaska. It seemed like the perfect setting. It's in the wintertime, it's dark 20 hours out of the day.
Yeah.
Above the Arctic Circle, you get 4 hours of twilight. How come no one was setting other vampire stories up there? Now, after I wrote the book and I had some critique partners go through it, I had someone point out to me, hey, you do know that there's a graphic comic series called 30 Days of Night that was turned into a movie that's up in Barrow, Alaska, right? And I had no idea. I was crushed. I thought I was the first person that thought of it. But like I said, it was a good idea, so I'm not surprised more people haven't tried it.
I love it. I love the aspect of vampires and a vampire. And tell me, I travel and I go and, my wife and I, no, let me put it to you this way. Laura has to stay in a 5-star hotel. She really doesn't care where I stay, but she's got to stay in a 5-star hotel. So rather than cause any problems, and I love harmony, I say, yes, dear. There's always a fridge in the room that is filled with alcohol. Now, in your stories, in your Vampire Inn, is the fridge filled with blood?
It can be if they request it to be. It's funny that you say that because there is a scene where the proprietress, Vivian, of the hotel is asking one of the maids, did you check and see that there was Perrier in the fridge waiting for the guest's arrival in their room? And, of course, there could be bagged blood instead if that's what they wanted.
I guess. Where did you get the ideas for the individual characters that you've placed in your books?
I picked them from friends, from people around me, from I stole names from people on Facebook. That was actually really fun. I do a lot of my naming from people on Facebook. I'll do a shout out on my page saying, "Hey, I need to pick a character, a name, and it's got to be a man from this area of the world, this age. He's going to be a vampire. Who wants to help name him?" And I'll get 100 or more suggestions of names. I scribble everything down. I've never been a person who's really been attached to a name per se in my writing, like, oh, this name is symbolic and it means something. I think if you go a little overboard with the names and make them too weird, it's very hard for the reader to actually pronounce them in their mind. So having a name from somebody who's on Facebook, it makes a connection with them. They feel more involved, brings everybody into the story. And it's a more common name then. I've got some pretty common names in my book.
Exonation, C.J. Ellisson is my special guest of this hour. We're talking to C.J. about the books that she's written. We're talking about Vacation Vampire, book 1, and The Hunt, which is book number 2. CJ's website is www.cjellisson.com. Make sure you get both S's in or else you won't be able to find her. And her books are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and other fine bookstores online. And she's got a very active Facebook fan page. All you have to do is go to Facebook and just type in the search engine, CJ Ellisson, and away you go. CJ, your publisher calls your books hot monogamy. Can you tell us what inspired that phrase?
I was the one that inspired that phrase. I had a lot of people asking me, what is it that makes your book different than the others that are out there? Like I said before, I did not want to have a bed-hopping heroine. I wanted her to be in a solid relationship. I wanted it to be where they could count on each other. And true intimacy that I wanted to portray in my books does not happen in a month of dating, 3 months, or 3 years. It happens over a long period of time. Anyone who's been in a long, happy marriage can attest, yes, the intimacy comes with time, over decades built. And I wanted people to realize that's what hot monogamy really was. It wasn't something that it was ho-hum, boring, let's go have an affair. It's something that's scorchingly hot if it's done right.
I don't know if there's anything wrong with a bed-hopping vampire.
I don't think there is, but why not write something different?
I like where you're coming from. So tell me, when it comes to vampires and the creatures of the night, are you a believer in the paranormal?
Oh yeah, definitely, without a doubt. There's so many things that are unexplained. I think that to try to beat a dead horse and try to fit it into some type of a scientific or historical background is just wrong. There's got to be things out there that we don't know.
Have you ever had a paranormal experience of your own that you'd like to share with us?
I don't know if I really think I have. I've definitely had those spooky moments when you're in an old house and you aren't quite sure what you've heard, what you saw. But is there one particular thing I could point to and say, this is definitely strange or this is definitely out of the ordinary? No, there hasn't been, much to my dismay. But that doesn't mean I don't believe it when I listen to other people.
Sure.
I would listen to somebody sitting and explaining to me about crop circles. And it was an amazing lecture. I had no idea there was so much scientific background to it. And the research that was done, I thought it was just fascinating.
Do you plan on writing more books? For example, are the characters going to progress? Or are they going to get into different plots?
Oh yes, I've already the third book came out last month, when the print edition just released today. It's been well received so far from readers, and they all keep saying the same thing: please keep writing. So I'm going to continue with this series as long as there's reader interest, and I have some other series in mind too.
Has anybody sent you an email who claims to be a vampire, and they say, "Hey, what you're writing about is dead on"? If you'll excuse the pun.
Mm-mm.
No,
And I do get a lot of emails too.
Interesting. What do you think the average werewolf actually looks like? I'm sorry, the average vampire looks like, and can we tell them apart from
I
John
would
Capaldi?
think the average vampire would look just like you and I. Wouldn't that be the whole point? If you have my book there in front of you, you should open it up to the first page for chapter 1. There's a quote there from Charles Darwin. The whole point is about being able to adapt. It is not the strongest that survives, nor it is the most intelligent that it survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change.
All right, you and I have to take a commercial break because that is one change I cannot make here on this show. Exonation, CJ Ellison is our special guest, www.cjellison.com. There's 2 S's in Ellison. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break talking to CJ about her books. Let me see, it's a series on a novel of the VVN. 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll free. My name is Rob McConnell. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net. Welcome back, everyone. CJ Ellison is my special guest. Her website, www.cjellison.com. That's CJELLISSON. Her book series is available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and other online bookstores. And she also has a very active fan page on Facebook. All you have to do is go to the search engine and type in her name, CJ Ellison. 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll free is the way that you can contact us. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. First of all, CJ, thanks very much for joining us. It's a great pleasure talking to you, but I must ask you this. Where do you get your ideas for the erotic scenes?
Let's just say I have a really active imagination and a very willing husband.
So does he say, oh no, she's writing again, no sleep for me tonight?
No, he does not. He giggles and says he's very happy to be my muse.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. If you were to meet a real vampire, what would you say? What kind of conversation would you have?
Oh, wow, I don't think I would just have one question. I think I would have dozens of questions. Probably one of the first ones would be, how old are you?
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to know about their history, about their background, what they've lived through, what they've seen.
What was the hardest part about writing your book series? Is there one area that kind of puts you into a writer's block?
Yeah, actually there is. It's writing about my nephew Eric. He passed away 2 years ago on a motorcycle accident after he came back from a tour in Iraq.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. It was a very hard time. He and I talked about the series. I have 3 nephews all in the Army, and all 3 are written into the books. And right before he passed away, we were talking about the book. He was really excited. And in the second book, I was going to introduce his werewolf character. And actually, he picked that he wanted to be a werewolf in the book. So we had talked about it quite a bit. And I noticed that I'm still drawing a freeze when I have to write the scenes with him in them. That definitely I hesitate a lot. And now that I've read the third book through and it's doing really well, I've noticed all the characters have really come to life. They all have a personality on the page, except for Eric's character. No one would know that except for a family member, because everyone who's reading the books is going to see what I want them to see. But when I'm writing the scenes with Eric in them, I have a very hard time trying to make him come to life on the page because it's still too soon.
Did you always want to be an author, CJ, or was there something else that you wanted to be as a little girl, but the author took over in the long run?
I could give you a list of the things I wanted to be since I was a little girl. It's amazing how you have so many dreams and aspirations, and things change as you evolve and you grow older. No, I did not always want to be a writer, and I actually have no formal training as a writer. My background in school is chemistry, art, and business. So I had no formal writing training, and that really was a hindrance for me when I decided to go through with the publishing process. I was learning things from scratch. I was a terrific storyteller, but when I had worked with editors, I did not understand all of the jargon and all the things that they were trying to explain to me. So it was a challenge. Before becoming a writer, I sold real estate and was a property manager and was doing very well.
When you look at the genre of vampires, why did you pick that genre instead of ghost hunting, instead of extraterrestrials? Why vampires?
I actually have a series that I'm plotting out about alien life and about being some type of spy agent on kind of like an intergalactic world type of setting. But as far as why did I pick vampires for this?
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed reading it. I really enjoyed reading it, and when I was perusing the bookshelves or online, flipping through titles, I would kind of gravitate toward the vampire books. It was what I wanted to read. Publishers were insisting that years ago when I started writing that the genre was dead, that it had been played out, and that it wasn't going to be able to sell anymore. And they've been proven wrong time and time again. People still want to read about vampires.
But why? They don't exist.
Well, I think that the biggest draw is the fantasy aspect. If you can make this character anything that you want in your mind. Now, let's say that you're one of these types of guys who wants to be some gun-toting hotshot. You can make vampires into a villain, and you're, just like the Winchester boys from Supernatural who are going out and exterminating monsters. You could be that type of vampire hunter. Or let's say that as a romantic character, you would like to be swept off your feet by someone with a lot of experience and lots of mystery and maybe a little bit of angst, some type of bad boy image. Whatever it is that your heart desires, you can find it in the pages of a book through romance. And it can be portrayed with a vampire or with a werewolf or a demon or whatever you'd like. So when you want to combine all the great things that you like to read, you certainly find them all with vampires.
What is the hardest part about being an author in the 21st century?
Wow, gosh, that's a hard one to answer because there seems to be so many. I think making a choice on how you want to proceed with your career, because now we're a lot like the music industry was quite a few years ago with the big change of Napster and everything with the music industry. Your work is devalued when it goes up for free, but then you're able to reach readers when your work goes up for free. So it's kind of a vicious cycle of, do I want to go the traditional route and follow all of the rules, or do I want to be the master of my own destiny and try to branch out and try things differently? It is very hard right now with all of the changes to make the right choice. And I think for some authors, they have to do a lot of soul searching to find out what the right choice is for them.
Is there anything a prospective author can do to make sure that the content that they want to write about appeals to the masses and not just their own particular reading itself?
There are a lot of writers that will tell you that you should not write to the market. You should write what interests you. And in essence, that's what I did. I found myself gravitating toward vampire books, and I knew what was missing in the genre and what I wanted to see, so that's what I sat down to write. If you sit down with the mindset of, I want to write toward a certain audience, by the time that book is ready and you've mastered your craft enough that it's perfect and polished enough to sell, that trend may be gone. So first and foremost, you have to write what you like. If you're writing for yourself to entertain yourself and that you're interested in what you're reading and you do a good enough job, chances are other people are going to be interested too.
What are some of the pros and cons of either going self-published or going with an established publishing house?
I think when you go with an established publishing house, you have a naivety when you walk into it thinking that they're going to do all of these big things for you and your book is going to magically sell. Well, they're going to get you a terrific editor and they're probably going to get you a great cover artist and they're going to do a little bit of marketing. But overall, no one is going to market or sell your book like you are. My agent sat me down and explained the whole thing to me. She said, when you get your advance, you better put all of it toward marketing, because if you don't, you can't, your book's not going to sell. You cannot take that money to the bank and think, woohoo, I've made some money now, and I'm a real writer. No, save it all, put it toward marketing and publicity. And the writers who don't do that, or who don't receive an advance, are the ones who are going to be left off trying to figure out their career on their own. You can still go through a traditional publisher and not wind up not getting an advance. And that means that you are going to be left holding the bag, trying to get your name out there, trying to reach readers on your own. So it seems as if you've got these huge, huge bestsellers that are getting these multi-million-dollar contracts. Then you've got the mid-listers that are all falling to the wayside. And then you've got all the newbies that are trying to come into the arena. So I think that unless you're one of these multi-million-dollar authors, you really should be looking at your other avenues, trying to get professional editing done, making sure that you understand marketing, every aspect of the business. You need to know before you get into it, because if not, the only thing that you're going to do is hurt yourself in the long run.
Is it better for an author or easier for an author today to get their message across with the advent of the e-book? And I'm thinking about the Amazon Kindle and the Barnes & Noble Nook.
Oh, yes, and definitely don't rule out Apple there either. The iBook store does a phenomenal job for authors, too. It is very easy to get your work out there now. But the problem is, you are now a tadpole in an ocean. There are a ton of other writers out there doing the exact same thing. What is it that's going to make yours stand out from all the others? First and foremost, you have to have a really good story. If you don't have a good story, everything else falls to the wayside. It doesn't matter how good your cover is or how good your editing is. That book is not going to do well. If you're a terrific storyteller, and I've seen some terrific storytellers that don't have the best editing that are still making money hand over fist because they can really captivate the reader and draw them in. A lot of us who are spending lots of money on editors have a lot of professional jealousy that their books are as edited as well as they should be, and they're still making tons of money. But it goes back to the basics. If you can tell a good story, you will find an audience. Sometimes you have to hunt that audience down, really work hard to find your readership in the beginning, but the cream will rise to the top. If you write well and you find a reader base, you will expand little by little. Might take you time, but it'll work.
How do you keep control and the story plot going as you, the author, see best when you've got an editor who's saying, no, that doesn't work right?
The real nice part about that is I pay the editor. So I'm able to say exactly how I want my book to go. Mm-hmm. The editor has the chance to help me and guide me, but I have the final say. And that is the nice thing about owning your own publishing company. All of the authors in my company are told the same thing. You might be the one paying the editor, but it's your creation and your book. You always need to keep that in mind. Now, at the same time, an author who doesn't listen to the editor that they've hired is throwing their money out the window. Because why else did you hire them if you didn't trust them and didn't want to hear their opinion? That doesn't mean that I'm going to let someone dictate to me the plot points in my book or how I need to rewrite something and change it or cut a scene out that I particularly like. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I will listen when they tell me, you need to punch this up, you need to change this, you need to, you're repeating this information. This is not holding my interest. Because if it's not holding their interest, it won't hold your readers.
Is it to an author's advantage to strictly look at the print media these days? And with everything that is happening on the side of the computer and the handheld devices, including the iPad and others as such, why is the print book still so important?
I'm not so sure the print book is so important. I think that a lot of people would love us to agree that it is, but for me as an author, I've sold about 50,000 books, and I'd say probably less than 2,000 have been in print.
Wow.
I actually ran into a situation where I brought autographed copies of my print book to my library to donate so they could be donated through the whole state, and I was turned away. They said to me, we don't take unsolicited donations. Wow. I said, I don't think you understand. I am a local author. These are my books. I'm giving them to you so that they can become a part of the library system. They gave me a phone number and sent me on my way. So I don't know if all libraries treat people that way, but that's certainly how the one near me did. It was, thanks, but no thanks, honey. And yet I tried to run a contest where if people would review my book, I would donate one book to a library for every review I got, and then I couldn't even get the library to take my books.
Unreal.
Now, does that mean the print is dead? No, print is not dead. I think as far as the U.S. and Canadian population have really embraced ebooks, and the UK is following, and Australia is next. But overall, if you want mass distribution and you're with a large publisher, that large publisher is going to be able to have outreach that as a small publisher is never going to have. And that reach is still going to be print largely.
I understand it's very hard for an independent to get their books into bookstores. Why is that?
You know, what it comes down to is that it's real estate on that shelf space. And real estate is very expensive right now in a bookstore. Now, if you're going to be the person who's running that bookstore, are you going to take a chance and put a completely unknown nobody that you have never heard of on that shelf, on that very important, very expensive real estate shelf, or are you going to put a proven track record author on there like James Patterson, somebody who you know people are going to pick up the title, Stephen King, you know his books are going to sell? So it's not that my books aren't in bookstores right now. It turns out bookstores can get them if they order them. I'm in books and print catalog, which means that my book can be distributed everywhere, but the bookstore has to know who I am, and the book buyers don't. I'm still too small potatoes in their minds that they don't know who I am. My readers know who I am. They are the ones who are clamoring for autographed, numbered copies of my print books, but yet the bookstores don't know who I am.
Exonation, our special guest this hour is C.J. Ellisson, and her website is www.cjellison.com, and that's CJELLISSON.com. When you're out meeting your fans, what are some of the questions you get asked?
I get asked a lot of the same questions you've already asked me. You know, what got you into writing? Where do you get your ideas from? Why vampires? People are very curious, but a lot of them all have the same questions, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy talking to people about it. I think when they first meet me and we start chatting, it's usually they don't know I'm an author right away. I talk to people everywhere I go, and won't work that into the conversation until we've been talking for a few minutes, so they don't think I'm completely nutso. But you make a bond, and then you see what people's reading interests are, and you see if there might be a way that you could insert into the conversation you're an author.
Have you received any feedback from the vampire community itself on your books?
I've been in touch with paranormal communities on Facebook, and I have some people who support me who have written some nonfiction books who detailed all the aspects of the vampire lore and about people who live the vampire lifestyle, whether they're, I think it's called sanguinarians,
yes,
or if they just have light sensitivities. And they have all been very supportive and very friendly. I've never had anyone who has ever kind of poo-pooed or dissed me on what I write or why I write what I do.
CJ, stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exonation. CJ Ellisson is our special guest. www.cjellison.com. That's CJELLISSON.com. Her book series, The Vampire Vacation, is available at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. And we're going to be back on the other side of this commercial break talking more about vampires as the X-Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, my special guest this hour, C.J. Ellisson, on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
And welcome back, everyone. C.J. Ellisson is my guest this hour. www.cjellison.com. And don't forget, there's two S's in Ellison, so it's CJELLISSON.com. She has a very popular fan page on Facebook. And if you'd like to get a copy of her books, they're available at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and other online bookstores. First of all, CJ, it's been great having you with us. What are some of your beliefs when it comes to the strange, the bizarre, the paranormal?
I like to think of it the same way that I do as religion, each their own. Who am I to judge? How am I ever to be the one to know what's out there, what's real, and what isn't? I think accepting someone for who they are, for the face value they present, is much more important than trying to label somebody.
Well said. Well said. What message would you like to leave with the listeners of the X-Zone show tonight?
Oh, wow. Well, first off, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for having me here.
It's my great pleasure.
And I would like to kind of ask them to give my work a shot, that they can come to my website, read half of my books for free, take a walk on the wild side. You never know what you might like.
So, are there going to be more books in the vampire series? Is the vampire genre going to going to expand, and what are some of the, without tipping the hand too much, what are some of the things that readers can look forward to happening within your vampire series?
Well, so far, I'm plotting out the fourth installment in the series, which is going to be a novella. The readers have been clamoring to want to know what happens with Jonathan, or how did Jonathan become Vivian's werewolf servant. And I wanted to give them that story. So I'm writing a book of the past. It's going to be somewhere between, I think, if I tell you the word count, that sounds even sillier. So let's just say it's a novella. And then the fourth book and the installment that continues this tale will be like these, around 300 and something pages. And it will be set in Argentina and then around the world. And then I have another story slotted for after that. So we have at least 2 more full-length books and maybe 2 to 3 novellas in store for my readers.
I'm sure you've watched some of the vampire series on TV. How do you critique them? Do you watch it with your husband and say, you know what, they've got that right? No, they've got that wrong.
It's so funny you say that, because the one thing we have to say, we do watch quite a bit of the vampire shows. I can't get him to watch the teeny bopper inspired ones, but I can get him to watch the adult ones. And the biggest complaint we have is, if you were a vampire and your primary source of nutrition was blood, would you be a meat eater or a messy eater? And we're always amazed by, with Being Human or True Blood or any of these, that they have these vampires that are, these lusty folk that are very messy eaters with blood down the front of their faces and their throats, coating their clothing all over the place. And we thought, that just doesn't make sense. Number one, it's not very subtle. You can easily, you're going to be able to walk out looking like you've just committed murder. And 2, it's very wasteful. It just didn't seem to make sense.
Yeah, it's that, I can see a vampire going through the drive-thru at McDonald's saying, all right, I'll have a Big Mac without the bread and all the magic sauces. And don't even bother cooking those darn burgers. I just love them raw.
Or just stick your arm out the window for me. I'll just tap a vein.
CJ, I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. It's been a delightful hour. I wish you much success, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone. Same
to you, and thank you for having me, Rob. I really appreciate it.
You take care now. CJ Ellisson has been my guest this hour, X Zone Nation. www.cjellison.com. She's got a very active fan book at Facebook. And she also has her books being sold and available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble and other online bookstores. I'll be back on the other side of the news at 6.5 minutes past the hour as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.